Hey guys, so welcome to part two, and we're gonna talk about today from getting a switch ready to be put in a stack, setting the priority, numbering the switch, things you need to do in order for it to be in the right place in that stack of switches it needs to be at. We're going to be going over that and a little more details of upgrading the iOS on the switch. So anyway, stick around to the end. Please take a second, click on like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe so you be notified for any of the future videos that we put out. And anyway, thanks a lot, and we'll get started as soon as we roll the intro. Come with me as we upgrade the iOS on the Cisco 9300. But first, now we've already deleted, wiped all the config. Another thing we have to do to get the switch ready to be in a switch stack is we have to renumber each switch and set the priority. And of course, no video would be complete without starting with the basics. Coffee. So one of the things I always want to do if I'm stacking a switches, show switch. See how right now I've just got this one switch in there. It's showing switch 1 active. If I had both of these stacked together, it would show switch 1, switch 2. See how it shows what switch number this is going to be in the stack and what priority. So keep in mind, there's like 1 to 15 on the priority you can do. It always kind of defaults these to a lower priority so that you can add them to a stack and they won't take over as the master switch. Because if you don't have a config on it, you don't want this to take over as a master switch. So Cisco kind of puts this at a low priority. If this were going to be switch number 1 in an actual stack, I would need to go in here and set this. It's already switch 1, but like say this was saying switch 5 or something like that, then I would want to change it switch number 1, and then I would want to go switch 1 priority 15. That's going to give it the top priority. The next one will show up by default as switch 1. If I were making this the second switch in the stack, I would go switch 1 priority 14, because I would want it to be, if it were the second switch down, I would want it to be 14 because I'm going to make the top one 15. So this one would be 14, and then I want to run the command, switch 1 renumber 2, and that can all be done here, and I'll show you kind of what it does here just for kicks. But if I put, let's say I was going to make this the second switch in a stack, I would go switch 1 priority. If this were going to be the second one, I'd make it priority 14. If it was the third switch in the stack, it would be 13. Switch 1 priority 14, switch 1 renumber 2. So you can see it's asking me the question, do I want to continue? I put switch 1 renumber 2. Do you want to continue? Hit yes, hit enter. And then it says okay. Now when I reload, it says system configuration has been modified. You want to save it, hit yes. Hit that. Now the switch is going to reboot again. Proceed with reload. It says confirm. You confirm by hitting enter. All right, so now you can see it's went back to the switch here. So now if I do a show switch, see how when you look at here, it shows switch 2, it shows the MAC address of it, priority 14, but it shows this switch number 1 was 000000000. So you can get rid of that by doing a command called no switch 1 provision. So what you have to do on that is you do the EN for enabled, which puts you in that privilege exec mode. And then you do configure terminal, or conf T, CONF space T. And if you're new to this, it's better just to write out the configure terminal and get used to what the commands actually are. But from this, now that puts you in global configuration, which you can tell because the comp config is in here, and then it has that, as opposed to this one that just had the number sign. Now it says config and then the number sign. That means you're in global configuration mode. Now from right here, if I put no switch one provision, and now if I do you won't be able to see it right now. See, it still looks the same on it, but now if I do a reload, been modified, save, hit yes, can proceed with the reload. Now it's going to do the reload again. All right, so now the switch is coming back up again after it rebooted, after I did the no switch one provision show. Now if I do a show switch, now all it shows is what this switch is. Remember, we set it as the second switch in the stack, priority 14. So the first switch will have that. So you have to kind of do these when you're getting a stack ready. You got to do this on every switch so that the stack is ready to go where it's at. Then usually best practice of Cisco, anytime you're going to be plugging and unplugging the stack cables, is to turn the switch off. The other, but on this, like switch one, I'd go switch one, priority 15. If there was a third one, switch 3, priority 13, switch 4, priority 12. And, you just keep going down the way. And it's important to know also, let's say you have one switch, let's say the third switch in a stack goes out. Well, it's important to go in here when you're getting a switch ready to unplug that other one and put in a new switch, to set the iOS to what the current stack has, and to make sure if it's that third switch that you set switch 3 priority 13 and don't put any other config on it, because your other switches have that config. So whichever switch is the master, if you just set what I did just now and then the iOS, which I'm going to show you, you'll when you plug that in, it'll automatically drop that config onto the switch and get it ready. And there's not a lot beyond that you have to do on it other than power up the switch, plug the stack cables in, and the whole thing will come up. All right, so from right here, talking about the iOS. So to look at the iOS on a switch, you are going to type in show version, or you can just do sh ver. If you look, this is on 17.3.3. That's actually what I'm going to keep these switches on, but we are upgrading switches, but we haven't finished upgrading them. So anyway, the 17.3.3, I'm going to keep these at here. If you were needing to upgrade the switch, and I may show you that anyway on it, then you would go to Cisco.com to, download the right iOS that you want. Keep in mind, a lot of the newer products and everything else, the only way you can get into this when you first do it is you have to sign in with your, company email, and, you're put on a contract and stuff. But just for technical stuff, you would go to Cisco.com, you would log in. You can get some older versions or something from Cisco if you just go in and create you an account, but just to walk you through it in case any of you guys do have Cisco support contracts with them where you do have a license. If you go hit, you got products and downloads, and then under downloads, you can look at, all downloads, and there's, the 9300s, that we're using. This is showing some of the different things on there, but let's say I wanted this one, then I would just go click on, I could go click on the latest download and just download file. It'll download it into my downloads folder. I'm not going to do it now because I already have that, but if I click download file, it'll automatically want to put it in my download folder. So, but I do already have it on a thumb drive, so I'm going to show you the commands we would do if, say we were doing, 1733. There is a spot, and I'm going to show you where it's at on the switch, where you can plug in a thumb drive. It's right next to where you plugged in your console cable on the front. There's a little thumb drive slot. You can download it to a thumb drive. There's a bunch of ways to do it. You can use a TFTP server. You can use whatever on your computer, but I think it's quicker, and it usually works better just to put it on a thumb drive, plug that thumb drive in there, and I'll show you the command after I show you that port on there. All right, so, you've downloaded the file from Cisco, you put it in your downloads, and then you copied it and put it on your thumb drive. I always like to drop it just directly. I do have folders here, and I have a folder for iOS's, but I like to keep the one I'm going to be using just directly in the flash drive. So I would just copy it to the main, so it makes a lot shorter command instead of having to go through different directories. So what you would do on this is find let's say it was this is the iOS that we're going to be putting on it. It's already got that on it right now, but you're going to double click it, highlight it. See, it doesn't highlight bin, so you got to click here and get the whole name, and just Control C on your keyboard will copy that. And then come over here, and on the notepad, I'll usually write what my command's going to do, because a lot of the time you're configuring a lot of switches. It's a lot easier if you can cut and paste it. And it's going to be install, add file, USB. When you're plugging this USB into the switch to put it on there, it's USB flash 0 : and then / the name of the file, and then you want to put activate commit. These are all different processes. They can all be done individually, but you can do them all as one command. And it's going to install the file, which means copy it from the flash drive onto the first switch. Then it's going to do an add file, which is copying it from the first switch and putting it on all the other switches. It's going to unpack it and do all that. It's going to copy it onto them, and then it's going to go into activate, where it starts downloading and applying it on there. And it's kind of towards the end of that one that if you're doing this on the switch like that, it's going to say, hey, this is going to require a reboot. Is that okay? And then you put yes, put a Y, and then it'll start going into the process. When it gets to it, it'll reboot it. And then when it comes up, it should have that on it. And then when it's done with that, it'll commit it to the switch, which means it'll put it in that as wherever you're booting from. It'll replace the file that's already in there with that one. Once all that's done, you get back to it, you look in some of your commands, and just to kind of show you the commands on the notepad here, ways you can kind of verify it is you can do a show, which is like show install summary. And then you can also do a show mod, which is short for show module. And this one here will show you that it's on there, and it'll have like either an I, meaning incomplete. It may have a U, meaning it's there but uncommitted. It should have a C, which means completed. and then show the new version that you put on the switch after you're done with everything. After you've done everything, just because the memory is not super big on these switches, it's always a good idea after everything's done, you verified it's on there, to finish it off by doing an install, remove, inactive. What that'll do is, a lot of the time this part of it replaces the old file with this, but it still has both versions on the switch. And it just takes up more memory. Just know in the future sometime you're going to have to do an iOS upgrade, because once a year, or once, if you get a vulnerability in it and stuff. So it just makes sure your switch is clean and it's ready for that next iOS upgrade if you ever have to do it. So anyway, that'll do that. It'll run through a process, give you a whole written out thing on how much, what all do you want to do on this. Do you want to delete these files, and it should show your old package files, and just hit yes, and it'll remove all the crap you're not using and just keep the iOS you're using on it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys. Please take a second, click on the like, subscribe. Please leave any comments you want to, and share with your friends. And be sure to check out the site for other playlists. But do click on subscribe to be notified. This is a 3-part series, and that way you'll be notified when we release the other ones. We appreciate you guys, and please click on some of the videos below for watching, seeing any other topics you might like. So anyway, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next video.